Well, Helion Energy, a fusion energy startup, recently announced that it's raised $425 million in a Series F round. The latest funding included the likes of SoftBank's Vision Fund 2 and Lightspeed Venture Partners. Allison Kostick spoke with the company's co-founder and CEO David Kirtley more about the business. Take a look.
At Helion, we're building fusion generators. Fusion is the process that happens in the sun. However, here on Earth, it's been traditionally in universities and national laboratories. There's now companies like Helion that are building generators to provide clean, baseload, safe electricity from fusion.
So you're capturing it and using it in what way?
Fusion fundamentally takes lightweight elements like hydrogen found in water, H2O, or deuterium called heavy hydrogen or heavy water, and then at extreme temperatures and pressures fuses those together to make heavier elements like helium, like you found in balloons, and a tremendous amount of electricity. So at Helion, we've shown over the years that we can build generators that use this reaction to generate electricity.
And talk me through how this is different from nuclear power.
Nuclear power or nuclear fission takes heavy elements like uranium and plutonium and breaks them apart to make heat, where in fusion, we're taking these lightweight isotopes that are clean and safe and abundant, fusing them together to produce electricity and do that at significantly lower cost and safely. And one of the really unique benefits, particularly what Helion's building, is that we can directly take this electricity from the fusion reaction without steam turbines, cooling towers, or other thermal cycles. So we can do it higher efficiency and much lower cost.
Okay, so talk me through what you're using this for.
So what we are building, and the thesis behind Helion, the company, is not to demonstrate that you can do fusion. Lots of folks are working on that, but it's actually to build the product, build the generators that make electricity. So at every turn, when we make technology decisions, investment decisions at Helion, it's focused on how do you get electricity on the grid as soon as possible.
So what have you built to date?
So we've built now 6 prototypes that do fusion. The early work was funded by the federal government, some basic science and development, now all privately funded, including our last fundraising round, which is a $425 million fundraise. That paved the way for our 7th generation machine. We call this one Polaris. And this is the first fusion machine we believe that will make electricity, show that you can make electricity from fusion. We built that, began operations last year, and are now dialing up the power on that, paving the way for the first fusion power plant.
This is really amazing. I mean, who would ever think that you're paving the way for a fusion power plant? Is there acceptance to that, or is there skepticism around that?
Oh, I think there's a lot of healthy skepticism. Fusion, we've been working on the science and the basic technology for a long time. We're just now at the place where the electronics required to do fusion have finally caught up with the physics. And we're ready to go build those power plants. And what we say at Helion is we built these machines. We built 6 working machines demonstrating that you can do fusion here on Earth. And we're now ready to pave that way just to make that commercial product, start selling electricity, get that on the grid that's now clean. So no carbon dioxide, it's safe and low cost.
So talk to me about the investment that you've received now, over $1 billion in private capital raised. Who is that coming from? I know you alluded to it, but talk me through more what you're doing with that money.
The early funding was all government research funding. We couldn't do what we do without that basic underpinning of science and research. That was a long time ago. So now we're privately funded. Our last fundraise, Lightspeed Capital, SoftBank Vision Fund, were the 2 new investors to join the Helion cap table in addition to our existing investors. So primarily venture capital as well as one endowment and some institutional investors as well, and strategic investors on top of that for potential customers for Helion.
Do you have any customers at this point? And who are your next potential customers?
So we announced 2 years ago the first PPA, which is a power purchase agreement with Microsoft to build a power plant for Microsoft in Washington. So we're actively working right now on the siting around that, making sure that we know how to build fusion as fast as possible and get that on the grid. We also have a second customer we're working with called Nucor. Nucor is U.S.'s largest steel manufacturer, and our goal is to build a 500 megawatt power plant for Nucor by 2030.
That's amazing. So you are the first company to have this power purchase agreement, and with Microsoft, one of your customers. Can you tell us more about that?
We're building a 50 megawatt scale power plant. That's 40,000 homes or a very small data center for this customer. Somewhere in Washington, and we haven't announced a site yet, but we're investigating multiple different locations for the world's first fusion power plant. This will plug into the grid directly, provide electricity to the grid, part of the grid called the Mid-C grid, which supports the Microsoft data center infrastructure. And so that way, they've been a wonderful partner of actually pushing the technology, as well as for us to know, our goal is to build commercial fusion power, get it on the grid as soon as possible. So having a customer like Microsoft and a customer like Nucor really paves the way for us to be able to do that.
You think by 2030 you'll do it?
That's our goal, certainly. And for the PPA, our agreement is that by 2028, first electrons on the grid from fusion electricity.
And we certainly need it with the influx of EVs, even just on the roads, even just thinking about that. And the, with AI. And so these are all useful cases for this kind of power.
Yeah, when we got started with Helion, our goal was focusing on, we knew climate change was happening. We knew we needed to solve this. And we did not know that the power infrastructure requirements in the United States were going to grow so much. And so now we're seeing AI data centers, for instance. So our customer, Microsoft, was really focused on that, and many others, is that AIs, we believe, may be enabled by what is the power available to power those data centers. And so by being able to provide low cost, clean, carbon-free electricity, we can now deploy those data centers and really support them as they go.